Okay, so here's that object now. Notice it has a nice shadow kind of going here. Has this nice shadow in the crack. And it has this noise here that also is really nice. This noise really helps the eye kind of focus in on the object. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just simply go into Photoshop where I have this metal texture. Okay, I'm going to open up the example. So that should be here. Should be called widget. Something. Ah, there it is. Maybe not widget, but it'll work. Okay, then I'm going to take this layer, duplicate the layer from the metal, duplicate it over to the barrel mirrored. And the reason I did that is because this one's higher res. So, and I just want this quick example. So I'm going to take this and scale it down quite a bit. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to go over to layers and double click this one, put it on top, and turn it to multiply. And then turn it down some. Then we'll save this as the texture. So this was the same one I just opened up in Light Map. It's called Barrel Mirrored. I just must have forgot to change the name of it. None. Hit OK. So in here, I'm just going to go right over to the texture itself. Lambert 4. Notice that it's on incandescent. Okay. Well, I can break that if I want to, but let's kind of look at it first. Double click up here to update it. And now I have this object that has some slight shading occurring right in this area. Wow, that's really noisy. And because I used automatic mapping, nothing lines up. But the point here is I got a shadowed area. And that I can adjust. Let's say I go back to Photoshop. Take this down. And I'm going to take this down just a little bit too because it's just it's really noisy. Just so I could see that line. That's better. So there we go. We see that baked shadowed line in there. So as long as you bevel out your edges, you'll be fine. Now, another thing is it's set to incandescent. So if you break that connection and then go up here, here's that. Here's temp matte. I'm just going to launch that as a default. So it'll be less glowy. And now you could probably get away with going into Photoshop and upping the opacity back to where it was. Another thing you could do is go into this one. You can also do adjustments, exposure. And if you want that crack just a little bit more emphasized, you can do something like this. It'll dirty up the image and start unifying the metal, so the metal isn't so bright and vivid. So it's grayed it down some. Also, what you could do is go to levels, and you can start moving the black point and the white point and the midpoint, and you can start darkening up that crevice quite a bit. See, now it's really dark. So there's some adjustments to be made, no doubt about it, but they're there because of that ambient occlusion. Ooh, self-shadowed. So there's your widget. And the point here I'm trying to make is, as long as you have the high poly done, if I go over to the low poly, which one's which? This one I might soften the edges a little bit. There we go. So that way it gives it the illusion of being higher poly. So I know it's a widget, I know it's ugly, but it came across as what it needs to be. An example of doing your UVs better than automatic mapping, of course. Upping the polys, baking it out, doing the texture, and then transferring it back onto the lower poly object. Alright, so there's a good workflow for you. Enjoy, and please move on to the next video.